cursor again to the left,
Want to hang on to a box.
and if you want to click on something else like chat, it'll just
cool.
Technologically challenged. So
it took me like 15 minutes. How do I get out of toolbox? Oh my god! Yeah.
Awesome. So now I can bring up my notes for the Florida Panthers. Great. Cool.
By the way, that movie that we were talking about was apparently it was about me because the movie's called A Most Wanted Man.
Ah.
Okay, never mind.
Is that in a good way, Mike, or a bad way?
Both, I guess. Depends on your perspective.
You know what? Paige looks a little like Sarah McLachlan, oddly enough.
Well, that's a compliment.
I'm not going to start singing In the Arms of an Angel, guys.
All right, yeah, because it's fun. We're like the only podcast in the world, Paige, where 2 of our hosts have seen Sarah McLachlan in the last week.
Yes.
What hockey podcast brings you that? I mean, no one can bring you that kind of energy.
That's the one song that I can't stand. It's just beaten into the ground.
Well, the worst part is like every dog commercial of like abandoned dogs, it's her face and her singing it, and it's horrible and it ruins my day.
Dog. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's either the SPCA or a 9/11 funeral that song has been associated with, and that's sad because it's it's just beaten to death. But anyway. Okay. Sarah McLachlan talk. Ekka's going to see her. I've seen her. I've met her.
Seeing her tonight. Yes.
Yes.
I'm trying to get. Cool. All right, we're set, and then we have a chat room too, but you don't have to worry about that for now. It's too complicated. It'll just distract you also. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Josh.
All right.
Hey, Ek.
Yes, Josh.
I said to Michael earlier today that once again the arbitrator had the day off after Pullet signed without going to arbitration. So
yeah, OG hockey arbitrator.
The trend continues.
I want that job.
Why not?
It means never going to work and earning a paycheck. I want that job.
Yep.
Is there a link? A lot of people are asking for a link, or is it afterwards?
The link, yeah. I'll tweet out the link right now. Let me do that.
Cool.
Let me do that. I'll tweet it out right now. Let me do that. And then we'll be set and ready to go.
Yeah, and we'll and at the end of the webcast, I'll send out a link with everybody's Twitter address in it, so you can retweet it.
Are you 3 the regulars?
Yes.
Gotcha. Pretty neat.
Yes, we are. Here we go. Share. I can put out the. I'll share this link now via Twitter. It's so exciting watching other people do things on the internet. Okay, watch now. All right. With Paige Lewis. Let's do that. Somehow I missed you at the draft page, and it was pretty funny because I was trying to find you. I was at the draft.
They put me in a corner in the actual draft. I was in the far up corner. It was better than being put inside because they put a lot of bloggers inside to where they couldn't even see the draft at all.
Yep.
But at least they put us because they're probably oh, no one else really writes for the Panthers, so let's just throw you over here and.
No, that was good. I mean, it was good stuff. And it was funny. We who were we with, Mike? We were oh gosh.
Me, you, and Bill Meltzer.
And the woman from Washington.
Katie Brown.
Katie
Brown.
Yeah, I know Katie. I hung out with her this week or that week.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, because somehow we were hanging out with her too. We missed you somehow in that whole thing. But so that was so we snuck her up to the visiting team press box and we watched from up top.
Nice.
Just because it was Philly and I knew my way around and knew the elevator people. So I got us up there.
Yeah. So for those scoring at home, there's been one arbitration case that has actually seen arbitration. 14 players have agreed to a deal prior to arbitration.
Yeah, and the one person who did go to arbitration isn't playing in the NHL next year. So
exactly,
in reality, it meant nothing. Sabatka is playing in the KHL.
Easy job for the arbitrator this year.
Lawyers mean nothing. Excellent. Who would have thunk that? All right, let's start the show. I'm going to do the dates. We'll introduce ourselves and I'll introduce you, Paige. So just hang. It's
Thursday, July 24th.
Thanks. All right, I'm bad with dates. All right, here we go. Ready? Hey, Hockey World. It's Thursday, July 24th, 2014.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Josh Rimmer.
And I am Eklund, and you're watching the Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com on this balmy day. But it's never as balmy here in Philadelphia as it is down where our guest is today. We are really psyched to have, for the first time on our show, Paige Lewis from Florida, from the Florida Panthers. Paige, how's it going?
Good, good. It's it's thundering outside right now and raining and usual terrible Florida weather. So I'm inside with you lovely folks.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's I was wondering about that because my in-laws live in Longboat Key, and so I'm down in that side of the other side of the world, I guess, from you.
Yeah.
And this time of year, though, it's just empty, right? I mean, people aren't down there, I guess.
Nope, because no one wants to be down here. Everyone thinks Florida's like, oh, it's awesome and perfect year-round. No, it's terrible year-round. The weather is the worst. It's like the mosquitoes are terrible, and now we're like, I guess these mosquitoes came in from the Bahamas that like they freeze your like joints now. So now everyone's worrying about that. So it's
instant
great.
Arthritis. That's wonderful.
Maybe you'll turn into a superhero of some kind.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe you'll have like superpowers. That seems like being bitten by a special mosquito. Isn't that what happens after that?
Yeah, of course.
So you are though originally a northern girl, correct? You are from.
No,
you're not.
Born and raised. No, my fiance is though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, but you did work in New York though, right? You were.
Yes. I worked for the New York Rangers. I interned for a couple of months until I moved back home. So. Yep.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay, so I don't know why I thought you were a Penguins fan too. Am I wrong?
I am.
You are a Penguins fan.
I mean, I grew up a Penguins fan.
Right.
But I can't really talk about being a Penguins fan anymore.
Well, you shouldn't anyway. So even if you could, I wouldn't let you. All right, so
she's a double secret Penguins fan.
Yes.
Right.
There you
go. So let's talk Panthers. It's been a fun. I mean, there's never a shortage of news with you guys in the summer over the last several years. It's just new players all the time, all different sorts of things. Let's start with your thoughts on some of the changes. Like, what really, when you think about going to the first Panthers game this year, what kind of gets you excited about this team?
Alexander Barkov.
Yeah.
So that's right there. I mean, anyone that follows me knows that I think he's, by far was even our best player last year until the injury. That's who I wanted the team to draft pretty much all along. The idea of Nathan MacKinnon is obviously great, but Barkov has something that not many 18-year-olds have, which is a hockey IQ that's pretty much it's unbelievable how smart this kid is. His strength is unbelievable, the way he can hold guys off. He's got unbelievable wrists. I mean, the guy reminds me obviously not Alex Kovalev but very similar as to strong wrists and just the things that guy can do is just awesome. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him kind of develop a chemistry with Jussi Jokinen because that will most likely be his line mate. And then you'll probably see some variation of Huberdeau or Thomas Fleischmann on his line. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that entire line. Last year when Brad Boyes and Sean Bergenheim and Barkov were all together, that was the best line in hockey for a month, and it was awesome until Barkov got hurt, and then the team started losing a lot of games again.
Yeah.
So, but I'm really looking forward to that, and I think fans are too.
He's a heck of an exciting player, and I think it took people by surprise, obviously, because of the draft. Everybody was looking at, well, maybe the Panthers could use a Seth Jones, a defender like that. Everybody can use Seth Jones. But, you can't actually find anything wrong with Barkov's game. I loved watching the few times I got to see him play.
The way I see it is it's either we got Seth Jones last year. He wouldn't have made or break our, he wouldn't have done anything for our team, just like Barkov really didn't, because they're so young. They're not going to come in here and make a gigantic impact their first year. And Nathan MacKinnon made a big impact in Colorado, but look who his line mates were. Look who's surrounded by him. He has Matt Duchene, Ryan O'Reilly, Gabriel Landeskog. I mean, that kid's got some talent with him. Barkov didn't. And not to say that Brad Boyes and Bergenheim aren't talented, but they're not that level. But we needed that because we got rid of Stephen Weiss. Barkov was a need, and that's something I really like about Talon is he doesn't necessarily go for who everyone else thinks is the best player available. He's going to look at, our roster, look at our prospect pool, and say, we don't have any strong two-way centermen like this guy. Yeah. And everyone thought he was the real deal. And our scouts loved him. Our European scouts loved him. So, yeah, and you know, it was either we get Seth Jones and Sam Reinhart, or we get Alexander Barkov and Aaron Ekblad. And I think they made the right choice.
Yeah, Ekblad, the way this turned out, really something. Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, Paige, I wanted to ask you a question. You just brought up Stephen Weiss, and he had a couple of big years in Florida, but he's really I don't know what's going on with him. Obviously, he's had some injury concerns the last couple of years, but this was a kid that was compared to Steve Yzerman when he was drafted, and he's not the same player he was a couple of years ago. And when he was drafted, everyone compared him to Steve Yzerman, and now he's on Detroit, and he was non-existent there. Any idea what's going on with Steven and why he's not the player he used to be?
Like you said, the injuries, the ongoing groin injury that he's been having for most of his career, unfortunately for him. One of the greatest guys I've met. I went to his wedding. We were really close with them. He's great. He's awesome. He's a good guy, very quiet, and that's kind of the reason I don't think they ever gave him captain, is because he's always been very to himself. But and it's unfortunate to see this, but he's never really been given a major, not that he hasn't been given an opportunity in Florida, because he was always our first-line guy, but he never had unbelievable line mates with him either. This has been a team since the Alan Cohen era that never had money, that was never allowed to spend. We got rid of every good player we've ever had, and he was never put with this unbelievable player that, unfortunately playmakers like him need. Stephen Weiss is not a goal scorer. Stephen Weiss is a playmaker. That's how he plays the game. And he never had that finisher with him. But unfortunately, you're getting older and older, and his time's dwindling down, and if Detroit doesn't give him a scorer, he's not going to do it there either. And especially with all these groin injuries and how many times he's been injured.
Yeah, for sure. Mike?
Paige, as encouraging as the first season of Barkov was last year, it was a little discouraging to see Jonathan Huberdeau take a step back after his Calder Trophy winning year. I think he had around 28 points. It was his first full year, but what were your thoughts of his play last year, and what are you looking for him next year?
Unfortunately, Huberdeau had hip surgery at 20 years old, which is not, you never want to see that happen, but he definitely can bounce back from it. But you saw something in Huberdeau last year that you didn't, or that you wanted to continue seeing. He didn't. There's a way that he used to skate, like his first year when he was rookie year. He was so explosive. Everything about his game was explosive. He's not the prettiest skater, but he just had this way about him, and you didn't see it at all last year. You can tell that he didn't have, strength in his legs. You can tell that he completely was losing every bit of just strength from here down. But the rest of him's bigger. He's a bigger kid than he was his rookie year, of course. He looks like an adult now rather than a little kid. But you could just tell his strength was not there. So I think the fact that he's gonna work on it this summer. He's made it known that he's gonna make his hips, his legs, everything stronger. And he's gonna have Gerard Gallant this year. He's gonna have a coach that he's very comfortable with, a coach that he was unbelievable in the queue with St. John. I think he had the most points of all time for anyone in St. John before. Hence why he was drafted 3rd overall.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if he's now with a coach that he's going to be comfortable with, he's going to be with better line mates now. Now the team has supplied him with Alexander Barkov, Nick Bjugstads of the world, Brandon Peary, other young guys who are very good. So I think he's definitely you're going to see a bounce back year from him. Obviously, of course, if his hips and his legs get a bit stronger, which I'm sure they will. He's had an entire year to work on it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just think it was just the hip injury. I don't think anyone needs to worry about it. I mean, the talent is all there. The kid is unbelievable to watch. It's fun to watch. So I think we'll see a nice bounce back year from him.
For sure. What's the Dale Talon era been like so far? I mean, I'm a huge Dale Talon guy. I thought Dale got screwed in Chicago in a big way. I thought he built that team into a Stanley Cup contender, and it was really kind of interesting covering that first Stanley Cup final with the Hawks and the Flyers, where the guys wanted to thank Dale Talon so much. He wasn't there anymore. He built that team, and I really trust him as a GM. What's it been like dealing with him, and what are your thoughts about the organization around him?
He is awesome. He's one of the funniest guys because he's one of them. Like, he's one of the guys because he's been there before. But unfortunately, everyone seems to love to take a crap on Talon. No one understands what actually he's going through because no one understands that the owner before the owners we have now didn't have any money. And one went through a divorce and basically almost went bankrupt, and finally we got this guy out. He was a nice owner, he was a great guy, and of course it's hard to just sell a team, but finally it happened. But before the new ownership came in this year, no one wanted to come here. No one wants to come to a team that finishes last, and people crap on Dale because he has to overpay people. Well, of course you do. In order to get people here, you have to do something. And you know what? He overpaid, and it worked. They went to the playoffs for the first time in 11 years, and it was huge. And he finished 30th the next year, but you know what? He gave fans something that we haven't seen. And it was one of the most exciting playoff series to me because it went to Game 7, double OT.
It was an unbelievable series. People forget about that series.
And no one cared about it because it was New Jersey and the Panthers. But look who went to the Stanley Cup Finals.
That's exactly it. I know. At the end of the day, that Devils team was 2 games away from winning a Stanley Cup.
Exactly. The Panthers lost to a Stanley Cup final team. So it was just, he gave us something great. Yes, he overpaid, but are we paying for it now? No, not at all. I mean, we still have $6.5 million in cap space, even with Dave Bolland and all those, the other contracts he overpaid for. But we're the team's fine, and he's drafted so well, and he's ballsy, and I like that. I like that. He took Rocco Grimaldi when no one else believed in him.
Exactly.
And you wait, in 2 years, Rocco Grimaldi is going to be the most exciting person to watch on the
field. He's a real talent. Mike?
This kid. And he's great. He's so fun too.
Fun, yeah, I've heard that about him. Mike?
Paige, the Panthers' defense seems to be the epicenter of trade rumors and speculation. I mean, they have a couple building blocks in Gabranson and now Ekblad, who I would think is going to play for them as an 18-year-old. But we've heard some stuff about Brian Campbell over the summer possibly wanting out. Dmitry Kulikov's name was mentioned constantly in trade rumors, and now he signs a 3-year extension for over $12 million. They bring in a veteran like Willie Mitchell. What do you think of the defensive core as it stands right now, and what about those rumors?
I don't think the defense is as bad as everyone thinks. The fact that Dylan Olsen probably will make this team because he just signed a one-way deal, I don't think he's necessarily ready for 82 games, but it might have to be that way. But that's fine because you can tell the kid's got talent. But the good thing is, I don't think a lot of people realize how many good defensive prospects we currently have in the prospect pool that are just in college right now, that are waiting to come out, like your Mike Mathesons, your Ian McCautions, Michael Downing, all these guys that are great, So I think this is just, they got the Willie Mitchells 2 years waiting for the Ian McCaution type players to come up and be ready. So I like what they have now. I like that they brought in Willie Mitchell because they brought in Mitchell for Ekblad, because they know Ekblad is a defense first type of player. He's not a Dmitry Kulikov, who is obviously more offensive. So they brought in a Willie Mitchell who's a good leader. Good veteran guy, and it's only 2 years. I mean, yes, Jovo's year, they're the same age, but Jovo's was a 4-year deal. And Jovo also had a hip surgery and a hip replacement surgery that no one has ever come back from. So that's a different scenario. As far as the trades go, Brian Campbell never requested a trade. That was just speculation. That never happened. Brian wants to win. That's the issue, and doesn't anybody his age. I mean, yes, he's already won a Stanley Cup, but he's 35 years old. Do you blame him for wanting to be on a winning team? No. Is that to say he's completely unhappy here? I don't think so. I just think he wants a better product on the ice, and slowly but surely it's happening. Dmitry Kulikov, every Russian's always going to be in trade rumors. That's just how it's always been. I mean, you've heard it forever. You've heard Malkin's going to get traded. You've heard Alex Ovechkin's going to get traded. Nail Yakupov's going to get traded. Absolutely. Everyone's going to get traded if they're Russian. But you know what? If he does, you're going to get something good back from him. Like, if they do end up trading him, it's going to be probably for a forward. but I don't think they're looking at trading him. It's a good contract. He's a good player. They got a new defensive coach in Mark Morris. You know, kind of let Mark Morris work with him. You don't know. Maybe this guy, look what he did for Jake Muzzin and Slava Voinov.
Right.
You might get the Kulikov that everyone was hoping to see and everyone loved in juniors. So I think he stays. And if he goes, I don't think it will be this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. And now you do have a vacancy at your captaincy now, which is an interesting run, right? Correct.
Yep.
There's been no captain. I think that would be that'd be a really good spot to put Brian Campbell, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on this?
Brian Campbell's not extremely vocal in the locker room. I think that might be the only reason he hasn't been named captain yet. He's an awesome guy, a great family man,
right.
Really cute kid. But I think if they give someone captain, I really think it will be Willie Mitchell.
Yeah.
But if not Willie Mitchell, then I don't think they name one.
That'd be an interesting move. I kind of like that. That's worked a couple times. I'm not a big now covering Willie Mitchell in 2 of the Cup runs with LA. I think he's a perfect player to bring in. I have to say, like he is 100% hockey. You know, he's just one of these guys who bleeds hockey, and he bleeds defense, and he bleeds. You know, he's exactly what you need in a room like that. The kind of guy who every defenseman can't help but look up to. I think it's a perfect fit. What has Roberto Luongo brought to the table? I mean, this is that was of course a surprise move, and of course now you've got yourself a real personality that every team needs. You know, every team needs and to get a Roberto Luongo, you know, a guy, you know, social media, all this stuff that he brings to the table. It's got to be fun.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, it was such a surprise to everyone. I mean, usually like, you know, I always have like a feeling something might happen, or like this was just like, nope. Well, where did this come from? So it was great. I mean, everyone was ecstatic. Yes, he's 35 years old. Yes, he probably only has 3 to 4 years left in him. But you know what? They got rid of Jacob Markstrom, who apparently requested a trade from the Vancouver Canucks already. So and I feel bad for Markstrom. He's a good kid, but that's what he is. He's a kid right now. I mean, he's 1 year older than me, but he needs a lot to work on. And the owners weren't ready to wait for this kid to grow up, you know, and I'm not saying grow up as his personality or anything, but grow up as a player. Obviously, the goalie position is extremely hard. Look at Tim Thomas, didn't even become an NHL goaltender until he was 30 years old.
Yeah.
You know, Henrik Lundqvist, 26 years old, didn't become a staple name. Ben Bishop, 29 years old. I mean, I think Markstrom has it, and I think he will, but I think it's going to take about 3-4 more years for this guy to, and the owners didn't want to wait. They want the best chance at making the playoffs now.
Well, that's what Luongo gives you, every year. I mean, every year you're going to be in every game. You're going to have a chance at every game. He's going to steal 4 or 5 games, which could be the difference in 8 or 10 points, puts you into the playoffs. And also, such a big fan of what the goalie's personality brings to the entire team in front of them, and how the team can play when they have somebody like that behind them. How they can take different chances in the offensive zone, how they can do different things. And we've seen it in Pittsburgh. We've seen Pittsburgh struggle, because they don't necessarily have confidence or they're nervous about their goalie. It goes all throughout the entire team. So, yeah, I love that fit. I think that's...
Yeah, and I like that they added Al Montoya. It was a cheap signing. Dan Ellis just didn't do it last year. And I feel bad for Ellis because he was only 6 games. His goals against average was like 4 point something in 6 games, and that doesn't help. I don't know. And I like him, but I feel much more confident with Al Montoya, who had a much better year last year.
For sure.
And it's funny because you already see Roberto Luongo chirping Al Montoya on Twitter. So it's good, and it's good to have that kind of personality in the locker room. That was definitely needed, and especially with a team full of kids under 21 years old. The majority of the people in the locker room, I think we have 11 kids under 23. So it's good to have that. It's good to have that, that funny, that jokester to look up to. So.
Yeah, that I agree completely. No, it's an interesting division. You're in division with all these Canadian teams, right? So you're facing off against a lot. I mean, and you've got, of course, everybody's gotten better. It's a good division. Everybody is improving for sure. I wanted to ask a little bit about, I don't think people understand the rivalry, because we have so many Canadian viewers and so many people in the Northeast. People don't understand the rivalry that the Lightning has, with the Panthers. And how that's grown, and this the other rivals the Panthers have so far. I mean, how's that working out? Sorry, or explain what that's like down there.
Unfortunately, there's not a huge rivalry yet,
Okay.
and Michael Yormark, our old president, kind of tried to push one as much as possible by making a Governor's Cup. I don't know if you heard that last week.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, and the Lightning won all 4 games, so that didn't
work out so well.
Yeah, I mean, they've tried. You can tell they want a rivalry, and we want a rivalry too.
Right.
And I think what's going to give us that rivalry is if we win, because Tampa's already on the right track. I mean, Tampa, I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa won the East next year. It would not surprise me at all, just depending on how their young guys do. But now they have guys like, Andre Palat and Tyler Johnson, who now, and we have Alexander Barkov and Nick Bjugstad. So it's going to be really exciting to kind of see, I think those 4 players could kind of be like their very own rivalry in itself, which would be fun. And we need that. We need a rivalry. And yes, Tampa is technically, if you want to call it that, but it's not like we hate each other. They don't come into our rink and they're all like, oh, we hate you.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's not that I don't cheer for Tampa, but I enjoy watching Tampa. I really do, because they're in Florida, and I enjoy it. When they were in the playoffs, I wanted them to win. So it's not a hatred rivalry. If anything, the Devils are who we don't like. The Devils are a team.
Wow, that's cool. I like that. I would not have expected that.
Yeah.
I guess from the playoffs, obviously.
Yeah. The Devils are a team that I think that a lot of fans still have that that little bit of hatred for, because I know when we lost the double OT. This is before I was blogging too for the team, and I remember just sitting in my chair like just weeping, like just completely weeping when we lost. So.
Yeah, that was tough. That was a tough game. Jeez.
Yeah.
It was a tough series.
So we need a rivalry, but what sucks is that now the Metro Division is so not good, and the Atlantic Division is so good. So kind of wish we could be back into the old Southeast Division.
Yeah, the Southeast, that's, good old times, but, no more trips to Winnipeg, right? So, hey, there's that. there is that. There is that for sure. Mike, you got anything else for Florida?
Well, just that in terms of rivalry, it's interesting that I know that Toronto and some of the Canadian teams, they seem to come down there, or at least be scheduled to come down there in December and January mostly, and it seems that it's less inexpensive for a couple fans to get a plane ticket to Miami and go to the Florida Panthers game than it is to buy platinum seats at the ACC. I mean, how has it been in terms of, like, I know a lot of Canadian snowbirds down there. Are those the games that are the games that sell out the most, or the games against the Canadian teams?
Oh yeah, Montreal is our best game every year. Like I look forward. I mean, all of our fans hate it because they're like, they're taking over our building, but I'm like, I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it, because the atmosphere, like, you finally hear like what it's like to be in the Canadian, the Canadian market type thing. And our atmosphere is good too. Screw what everyone else says. I mean, yes, we don't sell out, and we haven't for a bit. Sell out when we don't play a Canadian team. But you know what? We have really good fans, and they're really loud. But when the Montreal Canadian fans come, they're the most passionate, obnoxious passionate, which is great. Like, I love it. And it's fun to watch. And you see fights break out, like little fights, like people yelling at each other. Right. I remember my first game as an intern with the Panthers. I remember I got out of the elevator, and it was as they were announcing the starting lineup, and they announced Stephen Weiss, and the whole place was boos. The entire place was booing, and I was like, what is going on? Like, this is before I really understood how passionate Montreal Canadian fans were. So it's cool, though. They're awesome fans, and the Maple Leafs don't do as well here as Toronto. I'd say the Boston Bruins do pretty well here too, though.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of Boston people. The New York Rangers are another one that does really well here, and the Pittsburgh Penguins, because there's a big Sidney Crosby fan base down here.
Well, a lot of the city of Buffalo has moved to Florida, so I wouldn't be surprised if half the people in the building when the Sabres play are ex-Buffalonians.
No, of course. Yeah, you always see your Buffalo people, but not as much anymore, because Buffalo's hasn't been good for a couple of years. So that's all you got to do. Win.
Yeah.
If you win.
Yeah. No, winning. I mean, that's it, right? I mean, that's like you said. Tampa has had that. You guys have had your. I mean, way back a run, the run to the cup that Josh was talking about earlier. Josh picked up rats on the ice surface of the Florida arena, and still has a rat to this day. And
hey, when we went to the playoffs, we sold out every night. So I mean, you just have to win, and that's how it's always been with Florida. The Miami Heat was the same way. Everyone's like, oh, well, you guys are bandwagon fans. I'm not gonna say every Heat fan is a bandwagon fan, but a lot of them are, because I remember before 2006, no one came. No one. No one cared about that team. Then they won their championship. Then they sucked again. And then, LeBron James, sell out. That's how it was. And that's how it's always been in Florida. Same thing with the Miami Marlins. Same thing with the Dolphins. But the Dolphins at least have the older people that still think about 1972 and the undefeated season still comes. So.
Right. That's still. Wow, awesome. Well, we're going to continue with some regular news. Josh, we're going to get with so great talking. If you can hang out with us, Paige, for a little bit the rest of the show, it'd be awesome.
Yep.
So, Josh, what do you have today for us?
Well, a couple minutes ago, actually, the Boston Bruins named Joe Sacco an assistant coach of the team. Joe Sacco, obviously the former Colorado Avalanche head coach and Buffalo Sabres assistant coach. Besides that, it's been a pretty quiet news day, except for Kevin Poulin agreeing to a deal prior to his arbitration, making him the 14th player to agree to a contract prior to his arbitration. The only player that went to arbitration was Vladimir Sabatka, and as we know, Vladimir is playing in the KHL and was not even present. So again, the arbitrator has a day off. You may go home, sir.
Well, I think he's going to have to show up next Monday, because I continue to say that I think that the only player that's going to end up going to arbitration is James Reimer, because the relationship between the Leafs and Reimer right now is acrimonious as it stands. So there's no bad road to go down here. It's already bad. So I think that he's going to fight out for a few extra dollars with the arbitrator. As for Sacco, Josh,
optimistic, but nothing like. There's no bad road to go down. It's already bad.
It's already bad. As for Sacco, he was part of He was part of the Ron Ralston coaching staff in Buffalo that Ted Nolan took over and was summarily dismissed in mid-April. It's funny that there was a lot of complaints about Toronto waiting so long to name their assistant coaches. The Buffalo Sabres have not named any assistant coaches yet, and it's almost August, so it's pretty strange that they still haven't lined up their coaching staff with 6 weeks or 7 weeks to go before training camp starts.
A guy I think about too, possibly being an assistant coach in Buffalo, and I've heard his name before. Obviously, he's run the Junior Sabres for a while, but I keep hearing a possible Michael Pekka as an assistant coach with the Buffalo Sabres, so that could very well happen this year.
Yeah,
I can't imagine Michael Pekka as a coach, I have to say, just thinking about Michael Pekka as a player.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's a leader. He's definitely
a leader, no question about it. He's such an annoying player. Oh my God, holy cow.
Yeah, well, he did a little work for TSN as a commentator. wasn't the worst guy that they've had. So maybe that's a direction he wants to go down. But he seems like, he was a leader on the ice. He was a captain of the Sabres, and a very effective player and a very annoying player, as you said, Ak. But I wouldn't, and he has done well on the junior level. The Buffalo Junior Sabres has done pretty well there. Teaching some young kids, so it might be a little bit of a stretch for him to step into an assistant coach's role in the NHL, but he does have that connection with Nolan back to Nolan's first tenure in Buffalo, so it wouldn't be a stretch to see that happen.
No, probably not at all. Let's take some questions, guys, from the chat room real fast if you want to before we get out of here. Paige, also, I wanted to ask you about the coaching changes, because actually you guys went through a coaching change, and it must be nice going in this year. It feels like with some stability, I guess.
Yeah. I was always on the I want Dan Bylsma to be the coach.
Right.
But, Sportsnet was saying that he was asking for like 13, 14 million.
Yep.
No thanks.
He was already going to make that if he didn't. That was the problem, right? Because he already had a contract that was going to pay him
but
that.
like, yeah, I didn't want to spend that much on a coach, especially a coach that couldn't get Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin another Stanley Cup. And I'm not saying that was just his fault. They had a terrible bottom six, had a lot of defensive woes and everything like that. But the thing I like about Gerard Gallant is I literally think if Dale Talon said, "Here, I'll give you a penny to be our coach," I think he would have said, "Hell yeah."
Well, that's the thing. And, I've talked to people in Montreal, and the biggest, I am pretty widely known really not a big fan of Michel Therrien. People have told me
shocking.
Yeah, I know that I've gone a little bit overboard. I'm usually not a negative guy, but he's one who will bring out the worst in anyone. But he actually, people have told me there in Montreal that they think the loss of Gallant is going to be enormous to the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, that he was such a major part of that team.
I heard that too, and like seeing PK Subban tweet, as soon as we hired him, like, big loss for Montreal, good luck to you, I'm gonna miss you, like that was like, okay, good. Like PK Subban like publicly said he likes him, like that's cool, because you don't just like go out and tweet someone if you don't.
No, that was serious. I mean, there were a lot of. I talked to a couple of Canadiens players who felt the same exact way. That said, that there was a really distinctive line between, Bergevin, the GM. Therrien, J.J. Daniel, the other assistant coach, were sort of in one corner, and Gallant was very much the guy who the players felt comfortable with and could talk to, and not to break it into a French or English lines, but it was just one of these things that the three French guys tended to bond together, and Gallant.
Yeah, really and you know what? And Gallant's a good old PEI boy, and he did really well with Rick Nash in Columbus. Rick Nash reached 40 goals with Gerard Gallant. Other than that, his team wasn't great. Their goaltending was not great. Everyone knew Doug MacLean and him were best friends, and Doug MacLean was not really the one who fired him, technically. These two were best friends. I love listening to Doug MacLean talk about him and how good this guy is. I like the Huberdeau connection. I like how he's worked with a lot of good young defensemen, too, such as Simone Dupré. And I do like that he brought back Mike Kelly with him. The guy, obviously, who was his assistant coach in St. John. And I do like the Mark Morris edition. That is probably, aside from Gallant, that's my favorite thing. I like what he did with Manchester. I like how he was there for 8 seasons. I like what he did with all the young guys. He's seen some talent there. And I also like that they kept John Madden. John Madden did wonders in the face-off circle with Barkov and Bjugstad. Before Barkov got his first injury, he was at 51% as an 18-year-old, and he took more face-offs than any other rookie, beating Tyler Johnson, who eventually beat after the injury. But I like that. I like the 4 coaching staff thing. I like that they kept Rob Tallis. I know Rob Tallis and Roberto Luongo have a good relationship. I really like the coaching staff. And now thinking about it, I'm gonna take Gallant over Dan Bylsma.
Yeah, I mean, I think Johnny Madden's one of my favorite people in hockey too, and just a big hockey buzz guy. And I really think that it's a great fit. The question in the chat room, which is kind of interesting and has a little bit of a connection based on a couple rumors that I've heard. People are wondering about Kevin Hayes, the Chicago Blackhawks 24th overall pick, who is not going to sign in Chicago, it looks like. And his brother, of course, plays for you guys in Florida, correct?
Yes.
Jimmy.
If Kevin Hayes said, you know what, I'll sign with you guys and deal with going to the AHL for a season, I think the Panthers would sign him tomorrow.
Yeah.
But Kevin Hayes wants to play in the NHL right away.
Right now,
Unfortunately, his brother right now is going to arbitration and probably will reach arbitration.
Yeah.
And we have 2 extra forwards. So as of right now, Thomas Kopecky and Sean Thornton. And the owners aren't going to want to carry, neither are Dale Talon. They're not going to want to carry 2 extra forwards who are making, Thomas Kopecky makes $3 million a year. They're not going to want to carry 3 extra forwards. They're going to have to trade 2 if they want to add Kevin Hayes. And I don't think they're really interested in trading Thomas Kopecky and a guy like Scotty Upshall or Thomas Fleischman for Kevin Hayes, who's unproven. I don't. If Kevin said, you know what, I will be okay with playing in San Antonio next year with really good players like Vincent Trocheck and Rocco Grimaldi, then yeah, I'm sure they would absolutely love that. But the reason he's not signing in Chicago is because Chicago wants to send him to Rockford. So, unfortunately, I don't think so. If it happens, great, but I don't think it will.
It takes real
the speculation.
Go to the Chicago Blackhawks and say I want to play in the like if this is the Chicago Blackhawks first and foremost. It takes gall to say you want to play in the NHL in general, like that you're not going to willing to go to the AHL, but then you're going to a team like the Blackhawks, which has 6 lines of NHL players essentially, and it's a tough one. And I know Boston's interested as well, but it's the same kind of thing with Boston. Boston has interest in Kevin Hayes too, but they're not gonna bring him into the NHL right away either. So.
But the thing with Hayes is that he saw the way the Blackhawks treated his brother, and basically they yo-yoed him back and forth between the Hawks and between their AHL team.
Yeah.
And he has no desire to go through the same thing. Plus, the Blackhawks aren't really they're going full out for him because they get a second round pick as a compensatory. As compensation for him signing someplace or going someplace else. So, they lose out a first-round pick, but they do get a second-round pick back. So, he's going to go someplace to a team that will guarantee him at least a shot in making the NHL and not going to the AHL. If he thinks he's a pro, he's got to prove it, but I think he wants that guarantee.
Yeah, he definitely does, and I don't think that this is the team. I mean, right now our fourth line is probably going to be Derek McKenzie at center. Sean Thornton is gonna, he's not gonna play all 82 probably. But then you have Thomas Kopecky and Jimmy Hayes. And like I said, I'm gonna take Thomas Kopecky all day, every day over Kevin Hayes right now because he has experience. He led our team in goals 2 years ago. He's a good player. He's a good possession player. So I like him, and I'm gonna choose him over Kevin Hayes for now, unless he gets traded. But like I said, you're gonna have to trade 2 forwards, not just 1, to get Kevin Hayes.
Well, that's the thing, right? And also, I mean,
save room for Kevin Hayes, I should say.
Yeah. And Kevin Hayes shouldn't be playing on the fourth line. That's not the kind of position he should be on. I mean, that's
but
position.
His brother Jimmy is.
Yeah. Right. But I would say Kevin's more of a top 6 forward, or at least anybody in the first round would generally be a top 6 forward, you would think. And
eventually, I think he could be.
Yeah.
A team like Buffalo or a team like the Islanders who has spots up front, who needs somebody who could play on a top 9, might be a place that Kevin Hayes would and should go, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, yeah, Josh, let's go a little bit. We did want to talk one more thing before we go, and Josh, we did something that was kind of interesting. I wanted to lead into tomorrow with the top 10 projections in the Hockey News for top 10 scorers. This is a good one. I do want to do this today a little bit briefly, and I think that we should do a little bit of predicting ourselves because we don't have, and we can see how well Paige can do combined with the Hockey News here in predicting this. So Josh, number 1 scorer overall, I guess we can all say we all know.
Are we talking about points or goals?
Points. We're talking about points. All right, so points overall. This has got to be Sidney Wright Crosby.
That's correct. 40 goals, 66 assists, 106 points.
106
the Hockey News is projected him. I hope he could stay healthy, and that wrist is fine.
Hey, he had 104 last year. It's not a stretch.
Not a stretch, right? Got to be healthy. All right, so number 2, Paige. Who would number 2 be in your book?
Steven Stamkos.
There you go. 56 goals, 41 assists, 97 points I have him down for.
All right, 97.
Future Toronto Maple Leaf, right?
Number 3. So Paige is 2 for 2. I gave you Crosby as a.
Mike, I'm gonna reach through the camera.
I would have said Crosby.
That's like the center square, right? So okay, you got that one. Yeah. All right. So number 3. Who do you think? Hold on. Paige gets her guess.
Oh, am I saying it?
Yeah, you're gonna. Yeah, you're on the roll.
I would usually say Malkin, but now without Neil and Jokinen, I don't know.
All right.
Screw it. I'm still gonna say Malkin. He has Hornquist.
You're gonna say Malkin. I'm going to say. Ooh. Oh God, Patrick Kane. Mike?
Malkin.
Josh?
Paige and Mike are right. It's Malkin.
Oh man, Paige is 3 for 3.
They have him at 35 goals, 58 assists, 93 points.
All right. Okay. Number 4. I am going to go. Go ahead. You first, Paige. You.
Oh God. You know what? This is gonna be my first wrong, but this is who I think. Corey Perry.
Corey Perry. I'm going to go Claude Giroux here. Go ahead, Mike.
Jonathan Taves.
Josh.
Close, Mike. It's John Tavares.
Ooh, I forgot about John Tavares.
All right.
33 goals, 55 assists, 88 points.
Right initials, wrong person. There you go.
Yes,
Close. Okay.
Exactly. Number 5.
Yeah, number 5. All right, Paige, you're up.
Am I terrible if I say Corey?
No, of course. If you thought he was number 4, he should be number 5, right? I'm going to go with Tyler Seguin on this one.
Ooh.
Mike.
Taylor Hall.
Wow, ballsy.
Mike is correct.
Oh,
40 goals, 45, 85
what are you thinking?
points.
Now, come on, Taylor Hall.
Taylor Hall.
Lord. I like Taylor Hall a lot, but wow.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I guess they think. All right, next. All right, number 6.
Number 6.
Paige.
God, I gotta change it now.
Corey Perry.
Hate Corey Perry.
Paige is a member of the Corey Perry cult.
Got to be at some point.
I actually don't like Corey Perry.
I know.
There you go.
I'm going to see him later today. I'll tell him that. No.
You're going to see him later today.
But I will see him later today.
Nice. Make sure you tell him that Paige doesn't like him.
I will.
Oh, you know what? Patrick Kane might have a better center this year than Brad Richards, so I'm going to say Patrick Kane.
All right. I'm going to go with Giroux again because it's guys. I mean, he was number 3 last year. Come on, Mike. Go ahead.
I'm going to be the homer and say Philip Kessel.
It is Claude Giroux. 25 goals, 60 assists, 85 points.
All right.
Let's just hope he doesn't. Oh, never mind.
No, Claude's a good guy. That was just ridiculous. Sorry, Claude's not. I mean, they're
saying
freaking out.
Not
Claude
saying
is the next Mike Richards and Jeff Carter. No.
Hey, give us something to talk about for a week.
Exactly, and otherwise it's just all Eagles. Actually, it was just all Eagles that week too. Paige, go ahead.
Number 7.
Number 7, Paige.
I'm sticking with Patty Kane.
Patrick Kane. All right, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go off the board here and go to Alexander Ovechkin at some point here. Has to come into play.
No.
Mike.
I'm sticking with Castle.
All right.
And it is Kessel. 37 goals, 46 assists, 83 points for Phil Kessel.
All right, number 8.
3, 6,
Patrick Kane.
Oh, sorry. That was number 7, by the way.
That was number 7. Yeah, that was number 7. This is number 8.
I made a mistake. Oh,
Paige goes Patrick Kane, number 8. 3, 6, 7, I'm gonna go crazy here and go Joe Pavelski. Mike.
Joe Pavelski, really?
Joe Pavelski's a big-time scorer in this league. People don't give him credit just because San Jose is bizarre.
Boy. Tough. Try to keep it moving. Yeah, I'll go Patrick Kane.
Patrick Kane, go ahead.
It is Getzlav. 30 goals, 53 assists, 83 points.
But not Corey Perry.
Not Corey Perry.
Wow.
All right.
Corey Perry is not.
He's not even first on his team page. Come on.
Number 9, Paige. You got to get back. You're missed a bunch in a row here, and you should have this. This should be anyone.
Patrick Kane has to be in the top 10, so I'm saying I will never say Alex Ovechkin's name. So Patrick Kane.
Patrick, see, I'm with you on Patrick Kane, but this is the thing. He was 20th in scoring last year in the NHL. Like,
But the Hockey News hates Alex Ovechkin, so like I just can't.
Point. That's a good point. They do hate Alex Ovechkin. All right, I'm going to just go off the board and say this guy I honestly do think will be higher than everyone's predicting, higher than this, and that's Jamie Benn.
Oh yeah.
Mike.
Yeah.
Well, I can't pick Gilbert Perreault, so I'll take Patrick Kane.
Gilbert Perreault. Go ahead.
Number 8 is the Great 8.
Alex Ovechkin.
47 goals, 34 assists, 81 points. Hockey News has him down for.
Minus 74.
One engagement breakup.
Yes, right. And a minus 74.
Wait, didn't Nick Backstrom have more points than Ovechkin last year?
He did not.
More assists.
They actually the same amount of points. No, they both had 79 points last year.
And keep in mind that this magazine came out before Ovechkin broke up, so maybe he would have slipped down a little bit. But anyway.
Ovechkin had more points and higher plus minus.
I don't think him not. No, I do feel bad for him. He was engaged. He was with that girl for a long time. That tennis player. They were really good for a long time. But
I'm not saying
that. If anything, that focuses him more on the prize. All right. So,
number 9. She wanted him to get his tooth capped, and he wouldn't do it.
Right. Yes, tooth capped. That's not true. Number 9, Paige.
Number 10.
Oh, we're number 10. I thought that was number 8. That was Ovechkin.
That was 9.
He is number 8, but it was number 9.
I'm confused.
Yeah. Tyler Seguin.
Tyler Seguin. Okay, thanks. Excellent. All right, I'm going to go with Nathan McKinnon.
Oh, God, come on.
I'm going to go ahead.
I've said he's going to be in the top 10, so I got to put him at top 10 here. Mike.
I'm going to go head-to-head with Paige and say Jamie Benn.
All right.
And number 10 is Jamie Benn. 38 goals, 43 assists, 81 points.
Fantastic.
And just for those, I have number 11 is Nick Backstrom, also with 81 points.
Over Corey Perry? What is going on?
We have Corey Perry on this list just for Paige's sanity.
Where is Corey Perry?
The Swedish Craig Janney. There you go.
I actually don't have the magazine yet.
Okay.
I was emailed those. I went to 5 stores today looking for it, and no one knew what I was talking about. Fantastic.
In Canada?
Yeah. Yep. I saw like 20 different fantasy football magazines, but nope, no hockey magazine yet.
Because American sports are just better than Canadian sports. Josh, you know this by now.
I get it. It's out in the U.S. Like my friends in the U.S. have it.
Yes.
I looked this morning.
I couldn't crying out loud around the corner from us. I
looked this morning. I couldn't find it. I was going to drive up to Fort Erie to see if I could find it.
Yeah, I mean it's like going to news is in Canada, but people in the States have it before we have it in Canada.
As it should be, Josh. As it should be. Okay, so we are. That's it for today. Thanks again, Paige. We'd love to have you back sometime. You're doing wonderful.
Thank you very much. I had fun. That was cool.
Anytime. Thanks so much. And you can follow Paige at Paige Lewis FL on Twitter. So Paige Paige Lewis Lewis FL. That's in Paige Lewis, Florida. Mike, you can follow at Mike in Buffalo. Josh is at Josh Rimmer Hockey. I'm at Eckland. And we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Ty Anderson from Boston joining us. And Ty, Fridays are Ty days, we're going to say, because Ty's going to be joining us on Fridays a little bit. So I guess tomorrow we will definitely discuss, we'll be discussing the Bruins because Ty will be here. And but the other thing I want to say is we went through an entire day, a show, without mentioning anything about Stamkos and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I just wanted to put that.
No, it came up. It came up.
I said it.
It came up because I said I was going to reach to the computer and strangle him.
No, not since we actually started the show, though. We didn't mention it.
No,
so.
During the show.
The feed that goes out on the podcast, no one's going to hear it. There you go.
15 minutes ago, he said it.
Did he?
Yes.
Anyway.
Didn't you see my angry face?
I feel disgusted now. We'll talk to you guys soon. Remember that the buzz is just hockey. See you guys.